Hey everyone, you're listening to InfoQuench with Jeff.
And Amy. We're chatting about how to get the most out of life.
And covering a ton of interesting topics.
So there's sure to be something.
For just about everyone. Let's get to it. Hey everybody, and welcome to InfoQuench. I'm your host, Jeff.
And I'm Amy, and this will be our first episode that'll be coming out in 2024. So happy New Year.
It sounds so strange to say. The Ramones have a song and it starts 24 hours to go. I want to be sedated. And it's pretty cool because it's 24 hours to go.
Oh, I saw someone's post today that they said that they were sedated for like the last 4 hours, and that's why they were late wishing people Happy New Year's. And I thought, geez, is that a cool way to say I'm hungover? But maybe it was a reference to that song.
Maybe it was the seminal New York City punk band, the Ramones. Who
Something
knows?
about me really likes even years. I just feel,
Yeah.
Although 2020 was an even year, so that's not a good example, but in general, like, I don't know, 2024 sounds better than 2023. So the topic for this episode is TikTok, because
TikTok.
yeah,
Okay.
well, I just love the title TikTok Talk.
TikTok talk. Yeah, let's talk about TikTok.
Yes. And it was interesting, before we started recording, Jeff said, you know what, I don't really use TikTok. So this is a great topic, but maybe, we'll both learn a little bit more. I use it somewhat. I don't create content on TikTok. I just consume it.
So you have it downloaded onto your phone or whatever?
I do. I don't have an account. I just sort of jump onto the app when I want to. And a lot of times it's because a TikTok video pops up on Instagram or some other platform, and then I end up moving over to TikTok.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I've never seen any TikTok videos, but I definitely have never spent any time on the actual app TikTok, which is, I guess it's just a complete cesspool of time waste.
Well,
it's just
but there's a lot of, you could say that, I guess, about almost any social media platform.
And that's exactly why I don't need it. I have enough time wasting apps.
Well,
really. I just discovered Reddit. You and I have just...
Well, I've been on Reddit
Well, you've
for
been
a
on
while,
Reddit for
but
a
you've
while.
come over to the dark side.
Reddit is very interesting, like real time kind of thing. We're not here to talk about Reddit though. So about TikTok.
About TikTok. Before we talk about TikTok, I want to talk about, what happened to me the other night is I slept on a bent ear. Have you ever done that?
Oh yeah, not other people's bent ears, but only mine. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be weird. I don't
would
know
be
if I was
weird.
picturing like a serial killer scenario where you're just sleeping in a bed of ears.
Yeah.
Or if you're just like, I don't know, curled up fetal position on top of another person and purposely bending their ear back.
Yeah, you sneak into someone's home and then you just like sleep just on their ear and bend it.
But I'm just talking about that weird time. I don't know if it happens to more people, some people more than others, maybe the people who are more prone to shifting in their sleep. But you wake up and there's just this intense pain, and it's
Yeah.
fleeting, but it's intense. And you have to
It
wait.
is intense. I know exactly the pain of which you speak.
Yes. So I don't know. A lot of people aren't talking about the pain of bent ears, and so I just wanted to commiserate with those who have experienced that pain. And
I don't think I've ever really spoken about the bent ear pain before, except for with you. Like, there's a few times, like in our lifetimes of knowing one another, either you or myself, we woke up and it was like I slept on my ear weird or something, and that's it. But like, you're right, there's no symposiums on bent ear syndrome or anything like that.
I feel like it happens more as you get older too. I think our ears are not as bendy.
I think you just need to make a conscious decision just before you know you're about to fall asleep to readjust your ear. It's only one. You only have to worry about one ear. You
That's
should
a
be able
lot to
do it.
remember every night.
What?
Well, you know what? I guess if you sleep on your back, you don't have to remember it at all.
No, and you have been sleeping on your back lately.
I have.
I'm a side sleeper myself.
Well,
The good thing is I can sleep on either side, though. I don't have to pick just one. Yeah,
so both
it's-
ears can
it's-
be equally pained.
that's right. That's right.
They're equally at risk. So TikTok. What is TikTok? Actually, here, let me quiz you. When do you think it actually came about? Like, when do you think it was launched?
I'm going to say that's a really good question because I think TikTok was probably launched in 2000.
No. No, you are not even close.
No.
Not even in the ballpark. It was actually launched in 2016, September
Oh.
2016, by a Chinese startup company called ByteDance. And it actually doesn't exist as TikTok in China. It's known as Douyin.
Dying.
Douyin. It's spelled Douyin. Jeff was laughing earlier because I Googled
Yeah,
how to
you've-
pronounce it, and the woman on the video was very aggressive.
Yeah, she's like, don't bother saying it if you don't pronounce it properly.
Oh, actually, it was the next word that she said this about. So, okay, so just going back, it launched in 2016 and known in China as Douyin, but it really got the that crazy growth trajectory in late 2017 because it acquired a rival app called Musical.ly.
Musical.ly.
And this is the one that I had to look up how to pronounce. Now, listeners, you might be like, how, Amy, could you not know how to say Musical.ly? But it was because it's spelled out musical.ly. That's the name of the app. And so I looked it up, and this woman said, if you're not saying Musical.ly, you better not say it at all.
Yeah, like what if we did that with all languages? No one would ever speak if you didn't try to speak a language. You got to try and make mistakes in order to learn the right way to
And
do
I
it.
would have said musical.ly because people would just say, you're just saying the word Musical.ly.
But I remember before any TikTok or Musical.ly, I've never even heard of Musical.ly before, but there was one called Vine. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, that was pretty short-lived, I feel.
But that was very similar to TikTok. It was only, you could only make videos that were like 10 seconds long, no longer than 10 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, it makes you wonder why some catch on and others don't. So
Well, Vine was sold to somebody else who ran with it. I'm not sure what they did with it, but
So sort of like, well, Musical.ly had about 200 million users, and when it was acquired by TikTok, so then TikTok basically ate those users up, and then TikTok eventually they hit 1 billion by early 22.
wow, that's amazing. That's a lot of people on their phones or devices wasting time. I know it's not all wasting time, but really though, a lot of what the content on TikTok and even Instagram, I know Instagram focuses on people's lives most, but there's like TikTok challenges and like all these different things that just don't really add to mankind's evolution.
Well, I mean, I think we've had this discussion before. I feel that there is value in just pure entertainment. It doesn't necessarily always have to have a purpose or that educational component or
is.
growth. And I think TikTok has had some trends that raise awareness on certain things.
But TikTok and Instagram and even Facebook have algorithms that are like meant to keep you on it and just waste your life away. The longer you're on these apps, the more addictive they make them, the more money they make, right?
Well, I mean, and that's really why TikTok has become so popular. It has an addictive quality because it has really high levels of engagement and it has very short videos, like the short format videos, like you mentioned. You can just keep going through. So you just swipe.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, you and I have both been guilty of that. You get on Instagram or whatever, and you just start going through the stories, and it's just, before you know it, like a half hour's gone by or whatever, and you haven't learned anything. You haven't had any new realizations that's gonna, give you the idea of where your life is gonna go. Not that you're always looking for that on social media, but you know what I mean. There's no inherent
Sometimes
value.
I figure out where I'd like to travel to.
Well,
So literally where
from
my
looking
life
at
will go.
TikTok
Well,
or
I
Instagram.
mean, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
you mean like when someone like posts, so that I'm here and you're not, and then you're like, I want to go there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly it. A little YOLO happening.
A little YOLO. Well, that's another like thing about those social media sites is that it's all like, look what I'm doing and look what you're not doing. It's like, I'm doing it, but you're not.
You're
It's
watching me
kind
do
of
it. You're watching me do the thing, and I'm doing the thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that, but yeah.
It's all part of it. I won't get too much into the political piece. I'm sure people have followed, a lot of
Oh
controversy
yeah, the United
around.
States.
Well, it originally was based in China, but it has offices all around the world
Right.
now.
That makes sense.
So when doing research on this, it was interesting to go on to TikTok's website. And so not the app, but their actual website. They have a newsroom, and you can see where they've done a series of articles that are really aimed at addressing all of these privacy concerns that have been brought up and how they're using information. And they introduced a series called TikTok Truths. And they basically say it's to set the record straight about information that they collect, how they use it, store it, share it. So this is what they've listed out that they collect on users.
Yeah.
Location and GPS data. So they say they're basically doing what any other social media platform is doing.
Yeah.
It's not unique. It's, standard industry practice. And they say that the information is necessary to help the app function, to operate securely, and just to improve experience. Of course, they use it to serve up ads for local businesses and things, which is why you can see maybe your store down the street that doesn't exist elsewhere in the world. You might see an ad pop up on a social media platform, and it's based on them gathering your location data. I think in general, people are aware that type of information is being gathered, but there are certain countries, including the United States, Australia, South Korea, where the current version of the app will not collect precise or approximate even GPS information from users. So that's something.
So is that under direction from that country's government?
I suspect that's been part of the agreement to allow the app to remain accessible in those areas. And then there's some regions where a user is able to grant or not grant permission for TikTok to track that.
Right.
And I think, again, I feel like that's true a lot of apps, but oftentimes when they do updates, I go in and recheck privacy.
Yeah, that's a good practice to do. One of which I don't do, but I probably should. And so should you, loyal listener.
Well, recently there was a post brought up. I think it was actually a police station or an RCMP branch somewhere in our area. We've recorded of St. John, New Brunswick, Canada. But they talked about a recent update on iPhones and how essentially you should go in and check out your AirDrop function for sharing of contacts from your phone in your settings, because the new update had created this ability to AirDrop contacts to other
Which
people.
didn't actually turn out to be entirely true, like as to what the hysteria was with people getting, like worked up about or concerned about personal information being automatically transferred to another phone. Apparently it didn't quite work that way. But
I think it's a great example, though, of these updates. If you went into your settings, all of a sudden there was this change. And whether or not that may be a direct impact to you, it's worth noting that when an update happens to software or applications, there can be changes to security, privacy settings that you're not aware of. So hop on in there periodically, give it a check, there's privacy checks that you can do, and have a
There's
look
always
to see
those annoying things, though, that they do, like Facebook, when they make those sounds come back after every single update. Oh man, that just drives me nuts, because I can never remember how to turn them off, and so I have to go back onto Google and look and see how do you turn off the sounds whenever you click anything on Facebook again.
Yes.
Anyway, you've been there, right?
I've been there.
Yeah.
Those types of updates drive me nuts.
One of the things that I noticed too about TikTok and Instagram and whatnot is part of their algorithms is literally what you're looking at. Like you can be looking at a lot of cooking Instagram stories or whatever, and then they notice that you're looking at cooking stories, and so they just keep sending them to you. So if you only looked at like 2 or 3 different subjects, that's all you would get in your feed. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yes. When I talked about messing with the algorithms, particularly on X. I eternally am saying still Twitter. Because,
most people do, yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever convert to calling it just X, but I will intentionally go into content. I check what's trending, and I'll dive into content that might deviate from my usual opinions, values, perceptions, just to see what's being spread out there.
Oh, yeah.
For misinformation, disinformation, but also, there's times where I just need to keep my mind open to the reasoning around other opinions, because there can be times when my opinion should change
you gotta
when more
keep
information becomes
paying
known.
attention to those alt-right reasonings.
So it is interesting,
Anyway.
though, to see how the content adjusts based on when I do a little bit of a deep dive into a certain area, and
Yeah.
I'll see the algorithm adjust, and I'll think, this algorithm doesn't know me at all, and then I'll think, it's doing.
It kind
what
of does. This is funny.
It thinks it knows. It thinks it knows, but it's proof definitely that it's tracking. And I think when you do that, it really just heightens your awareness of how much that information is being tracked and served up to you to help reinforce and support whatever beliefs you may already have or whatever interests,
Yeah.
you may have.
Exactly. Yeah.
All
Exactly.
right. So just going back to information that TikTok admits to gathering, I say that, because obviously they've created these news items or TikTok truths to dispel myths or concerns around their app. So I guess, grain of salt sort of thing. But moving on to another area, they track keystrokes. So they'll look at keystroke patterns or rhythms, and they say they really do this for security.
You mean like what people are typing in to look for?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
looking at like sort of the pattern that you're doing it in. I mean, this makes sense. Say from a security performance perspective, it's really about verifying that authenticity of accounts. So, for instance, if there's a robot and that sort of thing, although I feel like people could figure out some sort of programming to have it mimic, the idiosyncrasies of somebody.
out all the light posts.
Of a human. Oh, I do not get more stressed than when I
know.
have to verify. I'm like, is that a bridge? I don't know. That might be. Is an edge of a bridge in that square? And then when
Yeah.
I fail, I just feel like a failure.
The edge of a bridge. Yeah, I remember getting one. It was like click, on the picture that has all the crosswalks, and there was some that there was just a tiny little bit that was in the picture but not. And so do I click that one? And then of course if you get it wrong, you can just do it again. But I don't know why it's so stressful. But you're right, it is. It's like, oh, I am not a robot. I am not a robot.
I was.
I will prove it to you.
If listeners, if you hear me sort of, if you hear my sound fade away, when I laugh, I have a laugh that it's a little loud and boisterous.
Yeah.
So I often have to turn away from the microphone when Jeff makes me lose it, and he often does. And so if you hear the sound fade away, that's what's happening.
Honestly,
I'm trying to save your ears.
That's my goal in life, is to make you laugh during these podcasts.
Okay, so let's just talk about the fact that I had surgery and I have some stitches. And essentially, anybody who's had stitches knows that they can't lift anything heavy or, strain themselves for a period of time. So what I didn't realize is how much I laugh with my belly. And so having stitches and trying to keep myself from contracting my abdomen with my incredible belly laughs.
Yes. Very shortly
became-
after your surgery, I did not mean to make you laugh this much.
And
but
when you start, and it's like when you're in a place, I don't know, I'm going to pick an inappropriate place to laugh, like a funeral or
like
church.
a changing room at a You may-
Don't pick it. I don't.
at the Old Navy. He's just sitting there laughing.
By yourself?
Yeah,
that would be incredibly creepy. But but when you start and you're on a roll, and what had happened was the other night Jeff was trying to leave the house, and he was just going for a walk, and every time he would get out the door, and it was like 15 or 30 seconds later, he came back 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
The first time it was your zipper.
The jacket, my winter jacket zipper just completely disintegrated, because you know how sometimes zippers, after you use them so often, or even if they're brand new zippers, doesn't matter. Zippers are just like so unreliable sometimes. Anyway, you zip it up and then it comes apart from the bottom and then stops at the middle. And then you have to it's really difficult to get the zipper back down. So you pull on one side and grab the zipper and pull and pull and pull until it comes down to the very end of the zipper. I did that and I ripped off 6 or 7 of the teeth of the zipper. So,
and it's winter here in Canada, and so our winter coats have different layers of fabric and folds, and sometimes that gets caught in the zipper, and it just wreaks havoc. And I said to Jeff, you have a problem with zippers because it seems like it happens to you more often than other people. And then you said, no, zippers have a problem with me.
yeah,
And so
I
that
did
was
say
that was the first thing that set me off.
Yeah.
Then you left again.
Yeah.
And then you came back
Well, no,
And-
first
and-
I had to run around the house finding my old winter jacket.
Oh, yes, that happened.
Anyway, that happened.
And then you came back and after you going outside and said, "Oh my gosh, it's garbage night."
Yeah.
Because as you started to walk away, you realized on the sidewalk you saw the people's garbage bags, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I got to put the garbage out."
Language might have been a little more colorful.
It was
but
pretty
we can't-
colorful when
yeah.
you came in the. Each time you came in the door, the language
It got
a
more
little
colorful. Eventually, it was like this day glow painting. Anyway, go ahead.
So then after Jeff ran around, got the garbage, and like the winter coat made it straight out the door with the broken zipper because it
Yeah.
was garbage night, luckily. And then you came back in and you said, "Wait, is this the week we're allowed to put out an extra bag?"
Oh yeah.
And so there's a magical week each year where we are allowed to put out an extra bag of garbage because we live in a high density, area,
live in
and
the
there's
uptown, yeah.
so there's controls over how much garbage you can put out, and we have a recycling program. And because of the Christmas holidays, they give you a week where you can put out an extra bag, and we just hate to not take full advantage of putting out extra waste.
know.
But we didn't have
anything
we
at the
weren't
ready.
prepared, and
And
it was really
it didn't get out.
disappointing.
It didn't get out.
And so
There
that
was a
the
few
third
other.
time.
Was there another reason why I came back?
I know that was like 3
Oh, I
times.
couldn't find my headphones.
Oh, there was that.
Yeah, and then I found them. That was how it all started. Actually, it was the headphones, then the zipper, then the garbage day, and then I eventually left, didn't I? Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
might have been something else.
You
but-
eventually left.
Yeah.
It's hard now because we have 3 sets of earbuds in our house. Each of us have earbuds. Our son got a set for Christmas, and they all look identical.
They're the Apple ones, so they're all the white pillbox.
And none
things.
of us will give in to putting a sticker
I'll
on
put a
it.
sticker on mine so that
Oh, really?
you guys will have to fight over which one you guys have.
I just will keep mine in a certain location,
Yeah.
and that will be my spot. So
Yeah.
there you go. And then someone will be halfway up a sidewalk and realize that their headphones, earbuds, are not pairing with their phone.
Yeah.
Back to TikTok.
Yes, TikTok.
So yes, they
I'm not
track
even on
keystrokes.
TikTok.
I understand keystrokes. Next one was biometric information. This one's a little alarming, but when they explain it, well,
What
I
do
guess
they do?
they did a
Scan
good
our
job.
eyes and stuff
Well, they basically use face and voice data for filters and effects.
through our microphone and our phone?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Now you have to grant access to the
What?
camera and microphone, which they, because if you're posting photos or videos, you have to grant that access anyway, and they ask you for that. And I think most apps, that's just part of the process before you
Yeah.
start sharing photos on
They
Instagram.
say we want access to your photos and
Which is
kinda strange.
It gives me pause when I see
But
that
then
pop
you
up.
always say,
But I always
"Ah,
say,
okay."
I'm like, yeah, just have access to it all because I am not hiding government secrets. But really, it's, I
Mm.
mean, how else are you going to post the photos? So, yeah, they basically collect that bio.
I'm sure Facebook does that too.
It's the bio in the biometric information that really is upsetting, that they're collecting anything related to, the body. But
Yeah.
it makes sense when they're talking about when they do, they do all those face filters, and they alter voices and things like that. And they also say they do it to make sure that it's like safe and that the content is safe that's being uploaded, and that they use it to help determine age range being used. So that's the information that they admit to gathering.
Yeah, I would imagine what information they, gather without admitting it,
Well, and I mean, I don't think that
That happens.
yeah, we're aware of a lot of information that's gathered unbeknownst to us. In terms of the demographics, and I did talk about the biometric information being used to determine the age of the users, but the average age, 40% of users are in the range of 18 to 24. So
That's
it makes
what I was
sense.
gonna guess.
You and I, 40, 50 range does
Probably
not.
the same with Snapchat too. Like that's a younger,
I know someone mentioned that the other
Sort
day.
of.
I'm like, that's still a thing?
apparently.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow. And on average, users spend 46 minutes a day on TikTok.
46 minutes a day. I have a more philosophical question for you, though. Why is it that people go on TikTok, though? What are they looking for? Why? And it's not always just entertainment. Are people kind of I mean, you could say this about Facebook as well. You could say this about Instagram, anything, Twitter. What is it that they're I know that there are utilitarian reasons to go on, okay, you've got a business account, you want to go and check if blah 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 blah, but other than that, is it just all entertainment? What is it?
I mean, I would say the vast majority is. They recently had, just at the end of 2023, their like record-breaking online live event, which at the time that I read that article was at over 35 million views.
Wow.
So, I mean, that was a collection of musicians that put on an event, and there were people who attended in person, and it was streamed live, but then there were people who watched it after the fact too. So, I mean, that very much is entertainment based.
I almost feel like, I don't know.
Well,
Like
why
there's
do
something.
you use Instagram?
Well,
And why do you
that's
use
the thing.
Facebook?
It's time waster is what it is, and it's horrible for it. It's really, really good at it because it just kind of keeps you entertained. It's like watching a TV network where something changes every single minute or every single 10 seconds. It's like, oh, now what's on? Oh, now what's on? Okay, now where are we going here now? Oh, that was funny. Maybe I can find another video like that. Oh, you know what I mean? And it's really, I don't think it's good for society. I'm on it too. I'm a hypocrite, but I'm just saying.
But it helps. I mean, it's part of a conversation starter when people talk about trends.
Yeah.
Like girl math is a big
oh,
trend.
eating Tide Pods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You mean like Tide detergent?
Yeah, the little pods. People were
Yes.
eating them as a challenge, as a TikTok challenge. Like that's kind of weird. I mean, but you know what?
Well,
Like,
there'll always be stupid,
that's-
dangerous.
I was just
there
gonna
was
say, the
stupid,
younger
dangerous stuff we
generation-
did long before social media. We
Yeah,
just
I
didn't
just-
capture it.
I just don't know
video format.
if it's a good thing for society as a whole, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm always here defending the entertainment value, the idea, because I feel like sometimes our brains need a little bit of a break from the regular stressors
They don't get a break
of
though.
life.
They're always on it.
Yeah, but maybe
That's the problem.
on a more positive note. I think it really depends too on what content you're digesting
Yeah.
from it. I mean, you can consume very toxic content. You could be going on a social media platform just to learn recipes or to connect with family members.
That's me. I was on there looking at slow cooker stuff today because I'm going to resurrect our slow cooker, honey.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? I feel
Yeah.
like it's a fire hazard.
Oh, because it's plugged in all day and no one's home.
Yes, that's
No,
exactly
it's
it.
fine.
It's like this lamp that you bought. Jeff bought a used lamp, and I just
You
can't
hate
think
it.
of a worse thing to buy used than something that is electrical.
But I looked and made sure it had all the Canadian standards on it for electricity.
But we don't know what the history of that lamp is and what it's been through. It could have been involved in a dispute
I'll
where
bet
it got
you it
thrown
was
across
plugged
the
in
room.
before and it gave out light. I bet you that's as far as where.
Have you
that
noticed
lamp is gone.
how many times I've turned it on?
I know you have never turned it on.
That's right.
Every time I turn it on,
when
you
this
turn it
house-
off. I'm just going to throw it in the garbage. Actually,
Perfect.
yeah.
Too bad there wasn't an extra garbage bag this week.
Nice wraparound, honey.
Yeah, there we go. I try to bring it back. Trying to bring it back. What else can I talk about TikTok? Marketing. Marketing is still maturing on TikTok. I mean, we know that when we're looking at these social media businesses, they're in it for the business. They need revenue, but the big piece of TikTok is looking at sort of these light, fun campaigns. Like that's what they're using to hit the mark, not traditional advertising that would basically just talk about the superior qualities of a service or a product. They're looking at like what can we do to engage people. So one example I read about was the Chipotle restaurant chain. They ran a Halloween burrito coupon giveaway, and they basically encouraged TikTok users to dress up for the holiday and post images, and they got 4 billion views. We covered a lot of TikTok stuff. I want to talk about the fact that blue is a flavor. It's
What do you mean?
Okay, so our son got blue bubble gum in his stocking for
Which was
Christmas.
sour.
Sorry, blue raspberry. And I thought to myself, blue raspberry is this flavor. But blue is, well, I think of Freezies.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think there's a flavor called blue?
No, actually, no.
No?
All the Mr. Freezies or whatever from when I was a kid were all addressed by what color they were. So I want to get an orange Freezy. I want to get,
Oh.
although actually the white Freezies were called cream soda. I remember
I just
that.
called them white Freezies.
There you go.
But don't you think like,
There's red Freezies, blue Freezies.
but if you had a blue slushy, don't you think it tastes like a blue Freezy? And if you had a blue popsicle, don't you think it would taste like a blue, like don't you feel like blue has a consistent flavor?
I think all colors have consistent flavors.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. So, for instance, green could be mint, or it could be sweet, or it could be like key lime, or red could be raspberry.
So what does
strawberry.
blue always taste like then?
I don't know. It tastes like blue.
Okay, I don't know. I think you're crazy. And you know what? Let's just go out and buy everything that's blue, like blue popsicle, blue freezies, and we'll see if it's all the same.
Let's talk about how much we get excited at our age about really nice boxes that things come in. We get those earbuds.
You're not a cat, honey.
And you talked about the incredible engineering of Apple and how that
It
lid-
is.
It
Well,
is.
I mean, they put a lot of time and effort into their packaging. Like when you buy the AirPods and you can hold the whole box and have your palm on the bottom, like just like an inch away, and then just slowly let out the pressure of what you're holding then on the top of the box, and it will just slowly slide out.
Oh, it's incredibly
Every time.
It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
And I saw something on social media, of all places, that talked about how sometimes you get a gift and you're like, oh, look at that nice box.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually threw that box out yesterday from Huxley's
painful?
Airbud. It was a little painful. I threw it out and I'm like, that box. It was so rigid, and I could have used it for something. But then I just let it go. I have to do. That's one of my New Year's things. Just let things go.
Let it go.
Try.
Let it go.
Try anyways.
I realized in talking about are they AirPods?
Yes, they are.
Because I realized I call them earbuds, earpods.
I wasn't going to
AirBuds,
correct you because
AirPods.
I just called them AirBuds too because you did. You know, like I was just going. I wasn't going to like point out a mistake or anything like that.
Oh,
It's
no?
not my style.
I just for whatever reason I just go every time I say it I don't feel confident in
They're
my answer.
AirPods. Say it again.
AirPods. See,
You got
I
it.
think iPod, and I feel like iPod is really old, and then I think
Yeah.
they can't be still called pods. Why are they
I think
called
they're
pods?
AirPods. Are they Apple Pods? AirPods?
Oh, you're going to throw Apple into the mix of the
Apple
names.
AirPods? Yeah.
Yeah, see? You're questioning it.
Wow. Yeah.
I feel like ear would make sense in the name because
Yeah.
that's where they go. Right back to the very beginning and our bent ears.
Yep.
Because that's like how I like to do it, round it all out. And thanks for joining us, everyone, for the
Thanks
first
for joining
podcast
us.
of 2024.
Yeah, it's really nice to have you guys along. We're going to be trying to be more consistent, perhaps bring in some extra guests in the future.
yeah.
We'll see how that happens.
Teaser alert.
Yeah, and
I love how you're like, if we're not more consistent in putting out episodes, we'll at least be consistent in
Saying that we will.
that will be
Yeah.
consistent.
Oh yeah.
So there's
we'll
that.
always say we're going to be doing more podcasts all the time.
You can count on us.
You can count on us.
Bye-bye.
Happy New Year, everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening.
Be sure to check out past episodes and subscribe to keep up with what's new.
You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, and why not leave a review?
You can also follow InfoQuench on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Till next time.